Hello and welcome back to the WTF Sunderland podcast as we welcome another special guest for one of our summer episodes. Before we introduce today's special guest, I'm also joined by Brad Sharp. Brad, how you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm very good, Graham. Still on a bit of a high from last week. I went straight on the night shift, so I couldn't really enjoy it. Just sat at work watching all the content that I could. But yeah, very good. I've had a nice chilled week, actually. Dropped the missus and the kids off at Flamingo Land for a few days piece, which is quite funny because that's where I met our guest last year.
Today's special guest, as you just mentioned, Wembley winner, spending a total of 3 seasons for Sunderland. He scored 41 goals during those 3 years, which was 2018 to 21. Welcome to the show, Charlie Wyke. I was going to full name you there and say Charles Wyke, but I'll stick with Charlie.
Yeah, never ever Charles. Now, thanks for having me, lads. Good to speak to you. I'm looking forward to speaking about, obviously, my few years at Sunderland.
I think first things first, I saw you sailing in Villamura because I was near you, and you and Maxie were over there. Did you manage to catch the playoff final? And of course, how happy were you to see the lads get the win?
Yeah, we were actually sat on the pool, me, the missus and the kids. And I said, listen, today's the day, like, we're going to have to go to the pub, take the kids to the pub, and got a few of my mates around there. We were over there, went to watch it, and obviously buzzing that Sunderland won. Didn't expect it. I actually thought we were going to get beat because Sheffield United really strong this year. And obviously, like I said, just absolutely buzzing for the club.
Charlie's staying with the playoffs. Just want to ask how proud and pleased are you that the AFL went hard with the Every Minute Matters campaign after everything, obviously, yourself been through?
Yeah, I think people know, obviously, what happened to me. And obviously, over the last few years, it's been tough for me. I've done a lot of work with the EFL and Every Minute Matters. So to see what they've done before the game and the build up throughout the playoffs was obviously great to see. And I've had loads and loads of texts, emails, like Instagram messages about Every Minute Matters. So, like you say, it's just about getting the word out to people. And I think that the playoffs massively helped that.
Looking at the half time, I think it was Tom Lockyer came out and did the CPR and stuff like that. But look, as someone who's been through something that is quite obviously horrific, and I hope no one else has to go through, but they might. How important is it that you think people learn CPR, and what advice would you give to people about learning CPR as well?
Well, it's so easy to learn. That's the crazy thing. It takes 15 minutes, and all you have to do is go on the website to do it. And obviously, I've done a lot of things with Tom Lockyer over the last few years. My advice would be just get up and do it, because it could be someone in your family, it could be someone in the street, it could be anyone, and you could save somebody's life. And obviously, hopefully, never ever comes to that. But for the sake of 15 minutes, why wouldn't you go and learn CPR?
Yeah, absolutely, 100% agree, mate. Look, let's go back to 2018. You joined Sunderland for about 400,000, so says Wikipedia. You were one of our biggest signings that summer. You done dead well with Bradford the season beforehand. Sunderland were a pretty low ebb, but then we remember that. What convinced you to make the move to Sunderland? Why did Sunderland feel like the right place at that time?
Yeah, well, obviously, I was at Bradford at the time, and I think I joined Sunderland quite late on in the window.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know whether to stay at Bradford and try and give it another year, but I seen where the club was going, really, and so be it, they got relegated the year I left. But yeah, I came off the back of scoring, I think it was 20 odd goals, and as soon as Sunderland came in, I knew that I had to go there. I'm obviously from Middlesbrough, it's only 40 minutes down the road, and yeah, just obviously the size of the club, the fans, and I thought, you know what, we probably only have 1 year in League One and we'll be up. Obviously, it didn't happen. But yeah, just the size of the club, really. I remember going to the first game with my dad, and obviously I was injured when I joined. I got injured at Bradford, so I watched the first game at home before I joined, and I couldn't believe the atmosphere, and this is where I'm going to be for the next few years.
That was the Charlton game, wasn't it? Where Gucci scored in the last minute.
Yeah, that was the Charlton game, yeah. Yeah, and I watched the game and I thought, obviously, we're far too good for this league. Coming from Bradford, who I think the year before we got the playoffs, and Sunderland were a miles better team than what Bradford were. So I thought, guaranteed to win the league.
Lo and behold.
Yeah.
You said before about having a little injury. It stopped you from making your debut for a few weeks. And I remember you coming on for your debut. You got a little deft touch on, I think, Gucci's shot. You score your goal in your debut. Probably the perfect way to start, really. Like, how was your debut when you look back, and how good did it feel to get that goal straight away?
Yeah, well, obviously, I got the injury. It was like a PCL, so it's like the ligament behind your knee, and I think it was like 50% torn or something. So I had to have a few weeks off it. But I think, well, I say a few weeks, it was like 6, 7, 8 weeks in the end, which is obviously a long time to be off. And I remember coming on, and I wasn't supposed to come on in the game. I was only supposed to play 5 minutes. But I think the way the game was going, the manager said, "Are you all right for 45?" So obviously I was just saying, yeah, definitely want to come on. And yeah, Gucci, I don't know if it was a cross, but it came to me and I just got a little toe on it. And then obviously I was just thinking, this is the perfect way to start. But I remember that game, I was so bad. Just like, I've only trained a week before this, and I just remember thinking, I've never ever played this bad before. I don't know if it was just because of the nerves, because of my debut, but yeah. And I always say the first 2 seasons after Sunderland, that knee was never right. The only way I got that knee right was in lockdown, when I had 4 months to basically completely unload it from running. I was out on my bike every day, and I got so much stronger, and my knees and my legs and everything was so much stronger. And I think COVID was like a massive reason I had the season I did in my end season.
Yeah, we'll get onto it, but it was massively transformed. When you look at the stats themselves, I think you got 31 here. Your 41 goals within that sort of period of COVID. But I remember, like, when you'd first come, you were signed as a number 9 and the main striker, and Madger was like the young lad that like was going to chip in with a couple of goals, and he ended up being like that season. Well, what we would class this season as my end of what he's done. Madger kind of became that guy in that season. I think he got in and he kind of unexpectedly became the main goal scorer, at least in my opinion. And then you've got that injury. It restricts your starts a bit. You've been paid big money for the level it's at. How difficult was those opening few months? Because obviously you were probably bought thinking, I'm going to play like week in, week out. I've been bought for decent money, that I'm going to be playing alongside a young lad, or this young lad's going to replace me in some certain games. I'm going to share it a bit. And this young kid just has like the season of his life. You get this injury and you sat on the bench for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think in the end I just had to just try and do as much as I could in training. I've never really been in a position where what I was in, where I wasn't playing. Obviously at Bradford I was the main man. I was scoring a lot of goals, and you know what? Sometimes you've just got to sit back and think, this lad's better than me at probably everything. His finishing was unbelievable, and I honestly, I've never. When you train with him and you see his finishing drills, he wouldn't miss a target. He's always at the side net, and you're thinking, this is what I need to try and like get towards. As even though he was a young lad, like his finishing was unbelievable, and yeah, I just thought, obviously, if I'm not going to be starting when I come on, I'm going to have to try and do as much as I can. And yeah, it was a tough. I wouldn't even say the first few months were tough, but it was the first 2 years. They were terrible for me. The only bonus for me is that I was still living at home. I think if I was living anywhere else, I'd have had to try and move club. But I knew what I was capable of. So I just thought if I stick at it, it's going to have to come good at some point.
Another striker that you competed with in your first season was Will Grigg. I remember Madge obviously goes, that really affects us because, as you said before, he was just banging in goals right, left, and centre, and he seemed to pop up. Like I think with Blackpool away, we could play poorly, and he would pop up and get that goal. Anyway, he sort of goes. And I asked Tom Flanagan last week why he felt Will Grigg didn't work out at Sunderland, and he was like, he tried to give an answer, but then went, I don't really know. So I thought, what I'll do is I'll try and ask a striker who plays the same position. Why, in your opinion, do you think like Griggy just didn't work out? Because look, let's be honest, I know he's not well remembered at Sunderland, but he scored goals elsewhere, like before and afterwards.
Yeah, you even look at him now and he's still scoring goals. No matter what league he's in, he's going to score goals. But I think just the pressure of how much it was, just the pressure of the fans, and he didn't obviously start well, and everything just caught up with him, and he just couldn't put it together. I think confidence was so low that it was just impossible for him to do well. Obviously, I know as a striker, if you've got no confidence, you're going into games thinking, I'm not going to score, I'm not going to play well. And yeah, obviously he was in and out the team, and it was never going to work in the end, because obviously he started getting abuse and everything was about him and how bad he was playing. And then obviously the Netflix documentary out and stuff, and yeah, it just wasn't a good match. It wasn't as if he was tossing it off in training or anything. He was always training trying to train well, training hard. A great lad, everyone loved him, but it was just one of them things that just never ever worked out.
Could you tell, like, quite early on that one was, and I don't mean can you tell in terms of like, did you watch him and go, oh no, he's never going to happen? But you know, when you can see a person's demeanor and you can feel they're not enjoying it, maybe in training, could you see that it was affecting him a bit?
Yeah, 100%. And I even spoke to Max about it, and he was like, "You don't understand the difference between the Will Grigg that was at Wigan and the one at Sunderland. It's like a completely different person." But I didn't see that side because I was scout. So he was like, "I just can't believe how much this spell is like affecting him."
Discussing like the players you joined with Max Power, who, well, you're connected at the hip, it seems, you two. So why did you connect with Max so well? Because it seemed like, as Tom said before, there was a bit of a fraction in the dressing room. But like sometimes, especially in that first season, you'd see like Max like ripping Don Love, and look, I know like it's difficult looking back to League One, but we'd had a couple of years where it felt like the club was really it just wasn't the club we were used to. It looked like the players were hating playing for each other. But you came in with Max and like Don Love and that, and like I know there was this discussion about like a fraction in the dressing room, but like you and Max and all that seemed to get on really well. Why did you bond so well?
Yeah, well, I remember the first day Max came in the building. My agent actually done his deal for him, so I don't know how it worked. But my agent done the deal for him, and just instantly we just sat down for like an hour straight away as soon as he came in, and I don't know, we just connected. We just got on straight away, and we were just everything we done was together. Even just going up to the gym, going for food, and we were just round each other all the time. And even got to the point where it was like you say, it wasn't a bad group. I didn't think it was. I got along. I've got along with everyone when I was there. We were staying back to like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, just in the pool, messing about, and yeah, don't know. We just connected really, and like when you say again about the like a bit of fraction in the dressing room, there was probably a few little groups that didn't like each other, but I think with me and Max, we were the type of characters who can just get along with everybody, and everybody liked us. Well, I'd like to think, and I'd never had a problem with anybody at Sunderland.
Because I feel like Max was really good at, because obviously you got the captaincy eventually off George and stuff, and I know Max didn't really have a great deal of success outside the Papa John's and stuff like that, and he left obviously. But I'll ask you about that Lincoln shot later on. But I know sometimes Max's time maybe isn't how we wanted it to be, but I really feel like Max tried to pull people together within the dressing room as well. Like he was, how good of a character was he in the dressing room?
Yeah, he's a complete winner, Max. Like he'd have a go at someone when it's necessary. He'd praise people, and he's one of them even outside of football. When say he'd be sat at home like 8 o'clock at night, he helped me loads when I was going through a tough spell, saying obviously keep at it and stuff. He used to ring me all the time, and I'm pretty sure he done that with a lot of the lads, even the young lads who were coming through in his position. You know, sometimes you see players who, when they see young lads coming through, play their position, absolute arseholes to them. But Max was good with everybody. Like you say, just a winner and a good captain, and just a good fella really. And I think if you ask probably most of the lads who played in that season, I bet there was loads of points in the season where he's picked up the phone on a night and rang. I'm not. That might be because he's got nothing else going on, but no, but he absolutely loves football. You even see now on his Instagram and stuff. He's in Portugal training every day, and he's just completely obsessed with football.
Yeah. So Charlie, you joined in the same summer as Luke O'Nien, who was a little-known midfielder from Wycombe Wanderers. 7 years on, he's set to be an experienced Premier League centre-half. What do you make of the legacy that Luke has made at Sunderland, and what was he like as a younger pro when he first joined?
No, he's obviously done unbelievable. Fair play to him. I didn't see it coming, but the way he works and the way, like, his mentality is unbelievable. I think a lot of people have seen what he said about when he first joined, and he had the worst debut ever, but he had to train his mind to start playing well. But see, when I've played with players at different clubs when I've left Sunderland, and they said, "What's Luke O'Nien like?" Because he looks so awkward when he plays, and I actually think technically he's one of the best I've seen. It might not look the best, but I think what was it, lockdown, when he was doing kick-ups with the tennis ball, and he was doing hundreds of kick-ups. I remember I was getting loads of shit off that, and Charlie couldn't do 5 with a side 5. But yeah, it just, everything he does, he works on. Like the manager had to drag him in every day. He just stay out till 3, 4 o'clock if he was allowed. Always train, always in the gym. he was the first one in, last one out every day. He still will be now. Just his work ethic is unbelievable, and he's one of the players who deserves the success because of how much he's put into football and into Sunderland, and obviously the fans absolutely love him now, and obviously he loves the club, and he's going to go down as a club legend.
Yeah, I'd agree with that 100%. I think he's been fantastic. I think Tom Flanagan described him as the perfect example of 10,000 hours or something like that, which is he also described him as Marmite, like, so compliment and a
Yeah,
non-compliment, but I think, look, that first season, I look back at League One. If I'm honest with you, my abiding memory will be the Checker Trade final, because look, I hope we never have to compete in it. I think most players and at Sunderland and most fans would say that, God, I hope we never have to compete in it. But that day, it actually offered a little bit of solace because I think it had been a difficult couple of years, and we had like a day at Wembley where we could go and enjoy ourselves, get pissed, go to Trafalgar Square, kind of just remember what our club was about a little bit, and hopefully like look forward to going back to Wembley as we did a couple of weeks ago, and winning like a bigger tournament, a bigger game. We didn't win it, obviously. The result aside, it was a great day, I thought, and I don't look back on it and go, "Oh God, we got beat." I look back and say how great that was, and quite a dark time, really. But you played like a huge role in that equaliser, and although that after I calmed down after celebrating it, it didn't feel like that impactful. I was like, oh, it's penalties. Oh well, we'll see how it goes. Like, if that's like a playoff final or an FA Cup final, it's different. I just loved the experience of that goal because it felt like something in that time. Can you talk me through the experience of that weekend, and in particular the noise when you knocked it down and Aiden put that goal in?
yeah. I remember the game. I think did Will Rigg start that game?
Yeah, and then we took him off and we put Gucci up front for
Yeah,
a bit.
I was obviously sat on the bench, and when he's turned around, I thought, well, this is my chance to come on now, and he's brought someone else on, and I'm thinking like, this is how bad I've been doing this season. I'm not even coming on in this game. Obviously, it's so frustrating, and then when the manager turned around and said, "You're coming on," I'm thinking, well, this is my chance to actually do something now. And then obviously the balls came to me in the box. I think I chested down and played it to Geeds, and yeah, that was an unbelievable feeling because at that point when you score and for it to be the equaliser, you think we're going on to win this now. But obviously when you get beat, you don't really think about it. Didn't really get spoke about. Like family were all there. Didn't really say like, "Oh, you did all right when you came on." And it was obviously so disappointing. But after the game, I think in the change room we all just said, "Listen, we've still got this league to get out of, so we can't let it affect us as much as what it should." But yeah, like you say, it was a great day. I remember coming off the train with all the fans, and just an unbelievable, just an unbelievable experience, really. And not many footballers can experience what we did that day.
Was that like an insight into? I think we all saw the scenes with something like I say a few weeks ago. I just want to keep talking about Wembley if I'm completely honest with you, but I can't because we need to go over your career that you had at Sunderland. And we're talking about a different Wembley experience. But was that like an insight into how big Sunderland can be? Because obviously we've seen it now, how massive it can be. We've seen the scenes from Wembley a few weeks ago, but like, look, that was loud as well. And maybe we're at a different point in our story, but we still shut up in absolute massive numbers and made the same amount of noises as we did a few weeks ago, really.
Yeah, 100%. I think even after the game, I think we all said, "Listen, this is what this club could get to if we go up." That support was unbelievable. I still show people. I've got videos on my phone of the fans singing and stuff before the game, and obviously because I wasn't playing, I got to see it. And obviously the lads who were getting changed were all there. They all missed it. But even coming off the train, I remember all sitting at dinner and like, that was unbelievable. Like, unbelievable, and send it to we all videoed the fans singing, sent to our families and stuff, and yeah, that was an unbelievable feeling because that's when you realise what like a huge club you're playing for.
It's a real shame that I have to come on to it, but I do have to mention it. I've got one question. A few months later, we went back to Wembley, and it was just a day where we just never got going. By that point, you'd broken into the team, you'd started getting a couple of goals, but we had that sort of difficult end to the season. I used to think you needed momentum to get promoted in the playoffs. Apparently, you don't, according to Reggie Slibreese, which is great.
Yeah.
But look, I have to admit, if I'm talking about it as a fan, it's probably the hardest day I've had. That minute when that goal goes in was like, I felt like I'd been kicked in the balls with the relegation from the Premiership, and then it was like a drop kick on the balls where we got relegated from the Championship, and then you just felt like it was the cruelest way to lose a game. And thankfully, we had it the other way. But like, as a player, you put all that work in. I think we played 61 games. And I just remember Jack Ross's face when that goal goes in, summed up. I felt how everyone, players, fans, the whole lot felt. How difficult was that moment for you as a player in the team?
Yeah, I'd probably say that was the worst moment in my career. Obviously, being so close to, well, even when the goal goes in, the first goal, you think this is our day. Like, this
Yeah.
doesn't happen. I missed the goal. I was looking the other way. I was looking at the centre back, and I seen all the fans cheering. I looked, and the ball was in the net, and I was walking back to the halfway, and I said, "What's happened there?" I actually didn't realise. Obviously, the keeper's let it under his foot, and yeah, just the way it happened. Obviously, coming off flannel, and just the way it was just one of them days where you just need it. Like, I can't even explain how the feeling of that what it was. Obviously, it was probably 100 times worse for you fans, but when you experience something like that, you're thinking, I don't want to ever experience this feeling ever again. But even that day, it was just a weird day that day. So I've got a bit of a funny story about me and Max. So the day of the game, we always get up, have breakfast, and then we have a team meeting like 12 o'clock. So what we used to do is get up like 9:30, go for a bit of breakfast, then go back to bed. No, sorry, the meeting was like probably 1 o'clock. So we got to like 12 and we thought, all right, we'll go and have a bit of dinner now at 12 o'clock. We'll come back to the room and we'll just chill out for like half an hour. So we've got back to the room and we both fell asleep. I think, honestly, I just think it was because we were so nervous about the game. We both just fell asleep. So to miss a meeting, no matter what game it is like, it's just, you just can't do it. And never mind like the playoff final. So the phones are ringing. And Max answers, and it's like 3 minutes past. And so he's like, I think it was Jack Ross was saying, listen, he's late for the meeting. So I'm laid in bed, and I was like, oh, fuck off, Max, stop winding me up. Got ages. And he's like, Chaz, we're late for the meeting, mate. So we've walked in the meeting, and just you could just tell like all the lads were fuming. Deeds was making a few comments saying, oh, it's a massive fine, all this. And after the meeting, we were like, we cannot get beat today because that just looks horrendous. And that's like a big regret of mine. Not that we meant to do it, but it was just one of them things where I think it was because we were so nervous that we just fell asleep. And then I remember, like, there's a few just mad things I remember from the game. I remember the ball dropping to me at like, I think, 20 yards out, and I've hit it, and it's hit someone on the arm. I think it was in the box, and it looked like it was flying in. And then you think, well, if that had gone in, and then obviously Max gets injured. And it was just a complete disaster of a day. And after the game, me and Max, I can't believe like the day we've just had. Really late for the meeting, him getting injured, obviously the goal, and then conceding so late on. It was just like a complete sickener.
The day was really weird. I remember like the last two times I've been to Wembley, Wickham and Sheffield United. I'm not gonna lie to you, like the people who was with will back me up. I was confident as anything. I just felt so calm and collected. But if you rewind me back to the Charlton game, I remember just being like, "Oh God, this feels awful," and I don't know why or what it was about it. I don't know if it was the black shirt, or whether it was everyone was hungover in Wembley, but the whole day just kind of fell off. But like, do you know afterwards? Do you speak in the dressing room after that? Does somebody need to speak, or do you just have a minute where you go, "Look, just shut the fuck up, don't say anything, and we'll deal with this when we're a bit more clear-minded"?
Yeah, there wasn't much said after, obviously, because it was so devastated. And I think at that point, the season, like you say, we played so many games, and it's a playoff final that what else was there to say? We know we fucked up, like not playing well, and I think anyone who said something was just it just didn't happen. I remember just sitting there for about 20, 25 minutes, just everyone just head in their hands and just couldn't believe the way we've got beaten, that the way the season's ended. Obviously, two Wembley defeats. Because obviously you go into the game thinking, like, obviously you're thinking you're going to win, but I do agree with you that the atmosphere was a bit weird. It wasn't flat, obviously, because it's Wembley and it's such a good atmosphere. But from the Trade final, it just felt like a different day.
It really did, because I didn't see the goal. I actually looked. I didn't even celebrate. I looked at the goal, the scoreboard, sorry, and I was like, why does that say 1-0? And we were like, and the lad behind me went, oh, the lad just like let it roll under his foot. And you were like, we always look back on it, like me and my family here, we always look back on it and go, that day was so shit, I didn't even celebrate the goal we scored. Like,
it wasn't a good goal, like a team goal or someone scored. It was just like a complete like freak of a goal. I played with a keeper at Rotherham, and I spoke to him about it, and he was like, never seen anything like it. He said, I can't believe I done it. He said it was just one of the weirdest. He actually said it was one of the weirdest days he's ever had in football.
Really odd. And I think the oddest part was seeing Johnny Williams celebrate and actually seeing him on the pitch after being injured for the best part of a year at Sunderland. But sorry, Johnny, sorry.
That's the worst thing. When I played with a few of the lads and just seeing them celebrate, like Josh Cullen and Marshall, who was at Bradford with, and just think that this should have been us. Obviously, we'd have probably went away as a team. We'd have had a big party afterwards, but you just get your bags and then you're back home and you're sat at home thinking, I can't believe I'm sat here when we should be out celebrating.
I remember when we got beaten in the 1998 playoff final, and obviously Charlton beat us on penalties. And Quinny did an interview on TV, and Quinny was like, "We'll win this league next season." And obviously the stories came out afterwards that I think it was Dickie Ord went out and said, "Look, we'll all go and get rat-arsed and sing karaoke and get over it." For you had something a little bit different, and I was unfortunately part of it. We had a very vocal owner on social media in a Netflix series, and the next day the owners wanted to do a podcast about the playoffs and wrapping up the campaign. And a certain someone said that, well, what we're going to do next year is we're going to get 100 points. Now, that was less than 24 hours after that playoff final defeat, when everyone was either fuming, upset, sad, or just wanted to forget about it. You as players have just tried to get your head around what's just happened. And then one of the directors comes out and kind of puts the pressure on of saying, oh, we're going to get 100 points. Like, how much pressure did that add to the team the next year?
Yeah, I don't think it helped. Obviously, like I said, there we're that low, and at this point, as soon as you get beaten, as soon as you just want to switch off and try and forget about the season. Never mind one of the main people from the club trying to tell the fans what we're going to do next year. We're still trying to get over the heartbreak that we've just had 24 hours off, 48 hours before, and yeah, it just didn't help at all. I just don't think it was needed at the time.
I said in the intro, Wembley winner. We've talked about 2 Wembley defeats there. The one time we won at Wembley, you actually were part of that team that broke the curse at Wembley. Like, I know there was no fans in that there, but you kind of felt, oh, we've won at Wembley. But I spoke to Aiden McGeady about the entire season, and I'm fast forwarding a little bit here, but just because we're talking about Wembley, you actually won at Wembley with Sunderland. You've had the experience of Sunderland fans at Wembley. You've scored a goal at Wembley in the last minute of extra time. The time you won there was no fans. Like, how weird was the entire experience to kind of A, win there, and B, just play at Wembley with like no one there?
Yeah, honestly, that's my luck. I've been at Wembley 4 times, and the one time I win, there's no fans. It was weird, obviously, because the stadium's so big. It's like, obviously you've been there before. It's so big, and for no fans, obviously it was a great day for us, but it was just a shame that the fans weren't there to see it. And I feel like, from like my side, looking at the Sunderland fans, I don't think they felt like it was a Wembley win really, because they weren't there to really celebrate it. Not obviously it was good for the club and stuff, and it was at the time, but yeah, just such a different experience from what it would have been if the fans were there. And like I say, it's just a shame that they weren't there, because it would have been an unbelievable day the way we won it. And don't get me wrong, we still enjoyed it, but it would have been 100 times better if the fans were there.
That Max Powers dance moves weren't very good though afterwards, were they? Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was on my Instagram, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah, I remember them. Yeah, they still haven't improved. Like,
no, I can imagine, mate.
Yeah, so Charlie, going back to, obviously you've got over the heartbreak of Wembley and we're going to the next season, but it didn't start the way we all wanted. And Jack Ross was dismissed early doors in the campaign after, I think it was a defeat to Lincoln, and it felt like all the players really liked Jack and wanted him to succeed. What did he sack and do at the dressing room?
Yeah, I think we all, well, I know we all felt like, we knew we let him down, because him and all his staff were such good people. His training sessions were unbelievable. Just as a person, he was just someone who you just couldn't dislike. Even if you, like, for me, I wasn't playing most of the time, but I loved him. I thought he was a great fella, and his training was so good. I think that's one of the reasons I actually got through the spell of not playing, because his training was so good. His standards around the club, the respect people had for him. Yeah, and for us, it wasn't nice, because obviously, like I say, he was so good to us, and we just let him down with the performances and the results we got.
he spoke quite openly about how Netflix was a thing he didn't like, and I think there was really big rumors, which you could probably confirm, knowing what it was like, that he didn't really want Netflix about the place, like that was going to affect him. How much do you think it affected his job and what he was doing? The fact that you had all this Netflix stuff around him, a really vocal owner on Twitter, rightly or wrongly, and kind of the entire mess that was happening at the time, especially now looking back. How much do you think that actually would have affected his job?
Yeah, it wasn't great. Obviously, cameras everywhere. Lads just had to stay back to do filming. And I remember Duncan Watmore done loads and loads of filming and didn't really make the series, and it's just like a complete waste of time. But just you know, it's like when cameras are around, you can't really be yourself, and it just felt like it was a chore for them to be there from our side. We didn't want them there, and there was just a bit of animosity there, really. And then obviously with the chair, with the people above being the way they were, it was a tough job anyway. But with a lot of the other stuff that was going on, it was obviously just made the job twice as hard for him.
Is it hard when you've got a vocal owner on Twitter that's kind of like, I remember, like, for example, the Josh Maja situation that was kind of played out on Twitter a little bit. Do you find, like, is that hard as a player when you got like a chairman of a club basically telling you exactly what's happening in the transfer window on Twitter?
Yeah, see, for me, it didn't really affect me, and I can't speak for the other lads because I don't know, but I don't really go on Twitter. I haven't been on Twitter for years, and I didn't really get involved in all that side. I never have done really wherever I've been. It's just more just I'm just bothered about playing football. I don't really care what's going on in the background, but I can see why it would affect the manager and other players because it's not ideal. A manager should just really be focusing on his players and trying to keep them happy. And when he's got other stuff to deal with and he's getting questions asked from the media about, well, nothing about football, it's like you say, it's not ideal.
Your kid used to love Twitter.
Oh yeah, I used to say like, listen, come on, you're just putting more pressure on me, like tweeting. He's like, I just love it. He's like, I just love it. I said, yeah, but it doesn't look great on me. And he's like, I don't care. But I think he was just trying to get a bit of Twitter fame, wasn't
Bless him.
he? I know.
You look at Jack Ross, Phil Parkinson. Jack Ross signed you. Phil Parkinson gave you like probably your first proper run in the team, but you scored 31 goals under Lee Johnson. What were the differences between the three? And sorry to the ones you don't pick here, but who was your favourite player under?
Well, I always remember when we were waiting in the meeting room and we didn't know who the manager was going to be, and he was already in the building, but we didn't have a clue. I remember Parky walking through the door, and I was buzzing because he tried to sign me when I was at Bolton, when he was at Bolton, sorry, and I was at Bradford, and I had actually scored a hat trick against him the last time I played against him, and I played really well. So I thought if someone's going to get me going at this club, it's going to be Parky, and I actually think my performances with Parky were better. Obviously, the goals still didn't come, but I think I actually played a little bit better when Parky was there. But then obviously Lee Johnson came in, and he just let me do what I want. Basically, he was like good to me. I liked him as a man, and I thought again his training was good. It was a lot of attacking based training, a lot of finishing, and Lee Johnson helped me massively. Yeah.
Is he as mad as he seems, like in a good way?
Oh, I've got some funny stories about Lee, like just like what's happened in dressing rooms after, and yeah, it was just for me. It was just someone. I'm not too serious. I like a bit of crack, and like I actually I loved his banter sometimes. Just a good fella, yeah. And obviously when you're scoring goals and you're playing well and you're playing every minute of every game, you're going to like the manager anyway. But I don't know, there's just something about him that I really liked.
Flano said the same. Flano was really like complimentary of him. But you said you had a few funny stories there. Come on, fire one out with me.
Well, Flannel probably want to mention this one. We were we were preparing for a game. It was like a Friday, and something happened, and everyone was arguing. And Flannel said something to the gaffer, to Lee, and and Lee was like, "This is what you do on this is what you like on a Saturday. You fucking fall like a packet of crisps." And then you had in the background was Geed shouting "Salt and Flanagan." But there was one. I don't know if someone said this one about I'm not sure what game. It was just it was a big game coming towards the end of the season, and we always used to bounce the ball about the dressing room and catch it. And if the gaffer walked in when you had the ball in your hand, you had to pay a £20 fine. So we were all bouncing the ball around. I think it might have been before Blackpool or something like that. I can't really remember. So all about bouncing the ball around. Normally the manager walks in, but we've been bouncing it for like half an hour, and we're thinking, where's the gaffer? Has he just like fucked it off? We're not doing a team talk before the game. And we haven't realised there's like a kid skip in the middle of the dressing room, but that's been there for the whole time. So we're bouncing this ball about, and we were like, in the end, we were like, stop bouncing this ball, lads. I don't think the gaffer's coming in. But as we've said that, he's popped out the skip. the little kid, like, all right, lads. And we were like, fucking, like, you just never ever expect to see your manager jump out of a kid skip. But just like, I remember before the game, I had tears in my eyes. I was going to the game and I was still crying my eyes out because I couldn't believe what I'd just seen.
Flano said he was obsessed with football, and that's what he liked about most as well. Was he like? I know he was a bit mad, the shocks on a Monday and all that stuff, and you took the mick out of him with I think it was Bristol Rovers game with Aidan O'Brien, and he shark fin and all that. But like, was he just completely obsessed with football, and is that maybe almost to his detriment in the way that he comes across in his public persona?
Yeah, he was obsessed. Yeah, like everything he spoke about was football and how to get better. And I remember his meetings were a lot like, normally manager has like a full team meeting, and his meetings were, he used to just pick 10 like 5 or 6 lads and like have individual meetings throughout the day, which obviously when it's in a smaller group, lads say more what they're thinking, and when it's in a big group, lads really don't, you don't really get up and say much. But I think the way he done it about the meetings, we had like 20 clips from the games, and we used to watch them, and then he used to send us the clips from the games, and we used to watch our games back, and then he used to come in on the Mondays and ask questions about the clips to make sure you've been watching them. And yeah, just I could just never imagine him switching off even when he was at home. And just, yeah, he loved football, and his training sessions and tactically, I thought he was very good.
I'm just noticing behind you, you've got a Sky Bet player of the match thing. Is that from the Donny game when he scored 4?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that one is. I'm not sure where the ball is. The ball's up there.
Back there, most of that day, mate.
There's a few balls up there, so I don't know which one it is. Might be that one.
Didn't you put a picture of the balls on social media and there was a lot of swear words on them?
What's that, sorry?
Wasn't the picture on social media when you put it on?
Yeah.
I think it was Gucci wrote a big swear word on it.
Yeah, I think this is the one, yeah.
It is, because there's Deon Sanderson's signature as well.
Bales wrote it, yeah, there you go. I don't know if you can see that. Where is it?
You big fucker.
You big, where is it?
There we go.
You big fucker. That's Bales, that. Yeah, good times then.
Talking of Aiden, right? Like, we've just talked about the time he got 4 assists and you scored 4 goals, which I think is quite funny because whenever someone does that in the Champions League, you'll always see on Twitter, someone will be like, it's been done before. It's been done before. But it's not actually done that often. And I think, look, Aiden had been out the team for ages because of Phil Parkinson. Did you play in the parky at Bradford? Am I remembering that right?
No, I wasn't there with.
Oh, were you not?
I was Stuart McCall at Bradford.
That's right. But look, he took Aiden McGeady out of the team. I think it's clear to see the form that he had afterwards. It was probably one of the most ridiculous decisions you could see, especially from a fan's perspective. But how did you feel about it as a player in the squad? You were someone that would probably, well, you thrived off the stuff Aiden did, but you had the best part of a year without him kind of giving you that service.
Yeah, well, obviously, Gades is like a massive, massive character in the dressing room, and maybe Parky thought some of the lads can't handle him. I've never had a run in with Gades. I've always got along with him well. I always say he's probably the best player I've ever played with. So to see that happen was a bit of a shock, but you don't really question it at the time because obviously it's the manager's decision. You've got to go with it. But like you say, I think he's one of them players who you can't really afford to drop. He's got to play. You've got to play him as much as you can, especially in League One. Some of the things he used to do, and obviously you've seen with me what he done for me. Sometimes I didn't even have to move and the ball be on my head, or just like I said, best player I've played with, and it was a bit of a mad one, but never really questioned it or really thought about it as deep as what like I do now, because at the time it was, you just got to get on with it because it's the manager's decision.
Because he was training with the kids and then he went on loan to Charlton. But like, was it weird for you as like an experienced pro watching like this former Champions League player just like sitting in with the kids for the best part of a year and saying I want to play, but like Parky basically saying no, you're not coming back in.
Yeah, it was mad because of his ability. He was so good and what he'd done the season before, and some of the things he used to do in games and training. Like in training, you could see he was levels above what we were. And then obviously to see him with the kids and not really see him around the building was strange. But yeah, just a mad one really. I'm not sure the results went after that. So I think I'm sure they picked up for a few weeks, but I'm not saying obviously because it was Gage, but I think
It
that's what.
went pretty bad eventually. We went on that really horrible run.
Yeah, maybe Parky only wanted to do it for a week or two to try and get the best out of him, and then end up getting a few like decent results. So he had to stick with it. I don't know.
Because I think, because the first few weeks, I think we beat Tranmere 5-0. And then it got like, we got beat Scunthorpe and Leicester City under 21s and that. And you're like, oh, Jesus. And then I think we went to 15th at one point and we went, it's in a memory that's ingrained in my head. And I'm sorry, Sunderland fans, to bring this up. I just met my fiance and we went to Gillingham away and we got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and we said we're going to get the coach all the way down. We're going to have a proper shitey Sunderland away day. You scored 10 minutes from time and the lad in front of us set a flare off and it got disallowed for offside and then we got beaten the last minute. And I remember coming out and I absolutely lost my rag and I was oh, fucking Gillingham. Can't believe we're going to be a fucking Gillingham 5 at the back. I absolutely lost my head, right? And this Gillingham fan went, oh, just Gillingham, is that? I went, yeah, we're Sunderland, mate. Like this, what you on about? Just Gillingham? Yeah. And the guy eventually went, yeah, actually, you've got a valid point. Because I started going on about our history and how long we've been. And it got like really bad at a point. But then it kind of started to turn a little bit. And we got to, I think it was Oxford away, we'd be Oxford 1-0. And I think if we'd had like maybe one win against either Bristol Rovers or Gillingham, we would have been in the playoffs based on points per game. I wanted to ask, that period of time, we actually did turn it around a little bit. And we saw you got the winner at Tranmere, I think. We had a decent run of results where I think it was like 8. We beat MK Dons. Gucci scored that goal. And then we had 2 bad results. And they were bad results. They were bad performances. But that basically knocked us out of the playoffs completely on points per game. And there's nothing you could do about it because COVID happened. Like, how difficult was that sitting at home? COVID was difficult as it was anyway, and being told, oh, you can't get relegated, you can't get promoted because you've got less points per game because of like 1 or 2 results.
Yeah, obviously COVID was horrendous, just a mad time, wasn't it? And
Crap, mate.
like we should have been in the playoffs. And then you're watching these teams who are in the playoffs, and you're thinking, like, can't believe this is happening again. Like, we're not going up again, or we're not getting a chance to go up. Like you said, there, COVID was just horrendous. It's like just complete, just nothing to do, just watching other teams play, and it was just probably speak probably for everyone in the country, just the worst few months you could ever imagine.
Worked out for you in the end.
Yeah, do you know what, as bad as it was, I was it was the fittest I've been when I came back. Mentally, I had a full reset. And I was just ready to go again. I think I look back at some of the pictures now. I was a lot bigger physically when I came back, and I just looked fitter. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that, but that's how I felt. And even in the games, I just felt a lot fitter, stronger. And then obviously when the season did start and started scoring goals, this is the Charlie. Like, this is the player who I know. I was at Bradford, like one of the best strikers in the league. I felt when I was at Bradford, and I was thinking, well, finally that I can actually show the fans what I can do, but it's just a shame they're not in the stadium.
What do you think clicked for you that season, Charlie? Because like you say, you did seem to score at will.
Yeah, well, like I said, the off season, the code, the 3 months or whatever it was in COVID, I was on my bike every day. I was running. I had my home gym, and I was just eating completely perfect, not going out, not seeing my mates, not doing anything. So I think just fully focused. And then when you go into the season, I don't think I really started. I don't think I scored in the first 5 or 6 games, if that's right. Maybe scored that Cheltenham away was the first one. Could be wrong there. I remember Gucci crossing one in.
Watched it? No, we had fans there. I can't remember.
I
But
can't.
you're right though. It was a couple of games before you scored, and then you just like went like a train.
Yeah, and confidence was up then, and completely shut off on like Instagram, Twitter, and everything, and just playing football and absolutely loving it, and just going into games thinking, how many am I going to score today? Not going into games as I was in the previous 2 years, thinking I hope I get half a chance today. It was, how many goals am I going to score today?
I think I could be wrong with this, but I'm pretty certain you're the last striker to score 30 plus goals for Sunderland since Kevin Phillips in that season.
Is that what it is?
I
Still
think.
doesn't win Player of the Year because Clark Harris got promoted with Peterborough and he won it, and I think he scored more goals as well.
It, so where the cookie crumbles sometimes, mate. Look, going to your final game. I was at the final game against Lincoln that you had, and we actually played so well. Like I remember going because I always look back at this Lincoln team, and they had like Brennan Johnson up front, and that like the team's like decent. Morgan Rogers and all that were in the team, like decent side, and obviously they've done us 2-0 away from home. Like Lee Burge had that absolute dollop of a kick out where like Brennan Johnson taps it in, but I think Roscoe got the early goal. So you're like, oh, brilliant. It was you and Roscoe up front. So it was like these two absolute animals up front just dominating them. Roscoe scores. Then you score. There's 10,000 fans in, but it sounded like 40,000 again to me at the time. I remember someone kissed us when you scored. And I was like, oh, COVID, shit, I hope he hasn't got COVID. But look, we just couldn't keep it going second half. And then the lad who, and this is not a dig, I genuinely don't remember his name, the lad that did the Shearer celebration, which tells you everything about maybe the way some teams were like with us. He scores second half and that's just done. But like at that time, I'm pretty certain because I think it came out the day later, you would have known that you were leaving then. You'd had this amazing season. The fans were just getting back in. You'd scored 31 goals. You obviously gutted we've got beat, but like you probably wanting to like continue on or at least like show the fans what you've got like with them being there because of the season you've had. How were the emotions for yourself like after that game?
Yeah, well, I think I already knew that I wasn't getting anything. Yeah, I got pulled in Speakman's office probably 6 weeks before the end of the season, and he said, "Listen, we want to offer you something. Don't tell the other lads, but we'll wait till the end of the season." And that was for me. That was, well, if you were going to offer me something, you'd do it. You'd do it now, and you'd speak to my agent and stuff. So I think at that time, I knew I was going to be moving on anyway. And then, like you say, the game was it. It was a tough day for me because obviously I had the chance where I went on the keeper and I tried to put it through the lad's legs.
Oh God, aye.
Yes, then I could have squared it at Chris, and then the lad scores from the corner. It was my man. So yeah, that was like obviously horrendous day. And obviously a lot of shit happened outside with the fans and stuff. I think there was a video going around on Twitter where someone said Charlie Wyke just told the fuck off the big divvy or something like that. So my mates still always say every time they see me now. But yeah, that was.
I don't remember that. Did he get into a Chris Coleman-esque argument with a fan outside?
So we got the bus from the training ground to the stadium that day.
Aye.
And we were walking on the bus and someone spat at me. And then I'd obviously turned around and said, like, fuck off. I think.
Oh, so you should.
And then someone said, Charlie Wyke just told the fuck off the big divvy. And then I remember just all my mates sending me after the game. And it's about, like I said, there, people still say it to me now. And it's just like, that was just a shit day. Knowing that was probably going to be my last game for the club. I haven't played in front of fans for the full season. And then when the do was only, what was it, like 50% of the ground we're in, and yeah, just knowing that the time at like the best club I'm going to play at's finished, and it's the season I've had. Like, it's just a shame that it's ended this way with my man scoring from the corner and missing a big chance. Although I did score afterwards, it still felt like it was my fault basically that day.
Talked about Speakman saying you were going to get a contract there. I'm trying to think of a really good way to word this, but I can't. It piss you off when he didn't then?
Well, at the time, like I was like, well, if you were going to offer me something, you just have something on the table for me now or in the next few days. So I waited obviously a few days and spoke to my agent, and I think we both agreed that listen, probably not going to get one, but if you get promoted, you're probably going to go down a different route anyway, and it doesn't look like they want to keep you if you're going to be in League One because obviously they've got Ross Stewart who was behind you. So I don't know if that affected me. Obviously, going into the last few games, it wasn't ideal, but yeah, it was just a shame really because obviously I wanted to stay, and then the abuse I got after from leaving, saying I've rejected the contract to go to Wigan when it was the complete opposite way around. Didn't get offered any contract at all, and yeah, just basically got told to go on my way.
When I think about that Lincoln game, look, Max hasn't been on the show. We've mentioned Max a few times, so I haven't had any chance to ask him yet, and I couldn't find him in Villamura when I was over there, when you were there the other week. But we can laugh about it now, because everything's all right. You're obviously really close with Max. Did he give him any stick, or do you still give him stick these days with that 40-yard shot that went into Rose Ed in these final games?
He says that one when I mentioned it. He says the one that skimmed the bar. I, we didn't really mention it. I think it was bigger with the fans than one with what it was with us because like I know it was like a massive thing on Twitter. Like, why is he shooting from here? And I don't know. I think it was just pure frustration of not playing. I think he's played a lot of the games throughout the season, and he comes on, he's not playing. He's wanting to probably trying too hard to prove to the manager that he should be playing, and obviously shooting from that far. And when you miss, obviously a lot of people are going to be pissed off, which they clearly were. I think it's just one of them things where you can obviously laugh about it now they're in the Premier League, but at the time it was on Max's behalf. It was just pure frustration, and obviously frustrated the life out of all the fans as well.
Were you surprised that the club let Max go?
Yeah, because of the personality he was, obviously the player he was, versatile as well. He could play in a lot of positions, and yeah, and I think obviously him going to Wigan and then get promoted, it proves that obviously he's a great player.
Just remembered something that I meant to ask you ages ago. I was going to ask you a couple of like random questions just to round off, but it just came into my head here. What happened in the dugout against Oxford?
What, the UFC event?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably. I'd say that there's no scuffles in football, but that was a full-on fight with probably everyone. I remember Dion Sanderson jumping off the steps, just like karate kicking someone in the head. People were throwing punches, and I don't even know how it started. And then it was just a full-on, just like I don't know, it was just a full-on brawl. I don't know how it started or how it got.
Was it Jimmy McAllister that got in? Because Jimmy McAllister got like was it Jimmy McAllister, the assistant? He got like a ban or something or a fine or something, didn't he? Because he apparently like actually square good someone like proper.
Yeah, and I think he might have knuckled someone or like obviously pushed his head, and then that's how it did kick off. Yeah, and then everyone's just throwing punches, and obviously we're all just like there's a red half on this side and obviously yellow there, and it's like some out Braveheart. Everyone just going at each other.
Because didn't Max get like the clinching goal? He got because that's why I've remembered it because I remember Max Power scoring and sliding in front of them.
He did that celebration where he ran the full half of the pitch, but it took him about a minute to run half the pitch and then done a knee slide. Yeah.
Is it Carl Robinson phoned the police, didn't he?
For assault?
Yeah, he phoned the police. It came out on Sky Sports that there was something happened in the tunnel, and it came out Oxford manager Carl Robinson phones police after ball.
We'd have all got arrested if they watched the footage back.
Cameras weren't working that day.
Yeah, they turned them all off that day.
I think we didn't do any. Do you remember when they used to do the tunnel cam? They didn't do it that day.
Yeah, but honestly, if they've got that footage, if they actually haven't got it and they have to like put it somewhere, or it would be the best footage ever because it was a full on Royal Rumble, and we all got the change. It actually gave us a buzz because we were all like buzzing after it happened.
Who won?
Us, obviously.
I thought so. Just checking. Funny that I was going to say who's the most talented player you played with, but I feel like I should be asking who's the hardest player you played with at this point.
Played with some big lads. Even when I remember being at Hartlepool when I was a young lad, and there was like Stevie Howard, who was at like Chef Wed and stuff. Marlon Harewood, he was a big lad.
Still is.
Yeah, big boy.
Bailey Wright.
Bailey Wright, yeah. Some of the cuts he has on his head. I remember watching a game back when I left, and I think did he get promoted, and then he had blood all over his face. Yeah,
Chef Wed.
Chef Wed away.
I was just thinking, this fella's round the bend.
How good was he for the dressing room, by the way? Because he came in as he was Bristol City's captain, and he came in just before the COVID period. Like he's obviously someone who I know he left in the first championship season, but he got promoted with us. He stayed that extra season. But like he was actually quite a big person to bring in the dressing room. And I think a lot of people look back on Bailey's time as like, oh, him coming in as like one of Parky's actually decent signings.
Yeah, he was just one of the best lads you'll ever meet. Do anything for you. Just got along with everyone, got along with all the staff, respectful, and just a good lad who I could ring him now after not speaking for like a year, and we could be on the phone for an hour. He's just one of them people who everybody gets along with. Even like when he left to come to Sunderland, you see all the messages he got and stuff, and just one of them lads who just like everybody loves. And he just gets along with everyone. You could never fall out of him. If you walked up to him, punch him in the face randomly, you'd still give him a cuddle. You couldn't fall out of him. He's just a good lad.
He seems it, mate.
Good player as well. Which I think he got injured in the season when Dion Sanderson was here. Dion got injured, and I think if we kept the back four, I think we'd have got promoted that season because we just looked defensively organised with the back four that we had.
You know, it is this entire podcast. I've been trying to keep me laughing without thinking Lee Johnson popping out with that little skit.
One of the funniest, honestly, it probably won't sound funny on here, but that was one of the best things I've seen from a manager. Just totally unexpected. And just the fact that he's probably in there for 20 minutes and just popping out saying hello, lads.
If you visualise it, it's very funny.
He's a good guy, Lee. Good guy.
He was at Wembley the other week as well. They had, I think, all the former managers that Kirill had worked under, but Michael Beale wasn't there. Oh, well. Missing in action, mate. Yeah. Scored 41 goals for Sunderland, but what was your favourite?
My favourite, I think you always say you debuted one of your favourite goals. But what I'd probably say a weird one, you probably never expect this. Accrington Stanley away. Because
in the cup?
My son was born the day before. And I had like 2 days where I was in the hospital, just sleep on the floor. I actually slept on the floor for 2 days and then went straight to the game. And then I think I came on and scored, and it was just obviously the best feeling having my son, and then scoring in that game was just like the perfect week.
Was that the I can't remember what they called the cup at the time.
2-0.
Was it the cup?
I'm sure we won 2-0.
Home or away?
Mark McNulty might have scored one.
Was that where Sparky scored one and then you scored?
Yeah, that was the one, yeah.
It was 3-1. I remember that. This is going to be useless information for people listening to the podcast, but it was my birthday on September the 8th. And I think me and Ashley, my fiance, had gone over to Berlin and we said, oh, should we like watch a dodgy stream of the Accrington game if we can get it? And we ended up going to this bar called Pirates in Berlin. And I got rat-ossed before kickoff had even started because it had these massive pitches. And every time I kept going for a piss, we were scoring. So I kept going up for a piss, and I did it 3 times and we scored each time. It was fucking fantastic. Yeah. There's probably actually one more we need to ask, Brad. You've just messaged me there privately that we probably should ask this before you go.
Yeah. Charlie, I'll just ask, how do I word it? Your first game for Wigan was obviously a return back to the stage, Malay, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did it hurt that the fans gave you and Max some abuse or booze, especially like you've told us there that it was out of your control about staying and leaving? You didn't really want to leave, but the way that was portrayed to us was Wigan offered you an absolute fortune and you just sacked us off. Did it hurt knowing that what the truth wasn't to you, that after everything you'd done the season before especially, that the first game back in front of a full stadium, you've received some booze and a bit of abuse?
Yeah, it was awful. I remember all my family got a box, and I knew it would be bad, but I didn't think it'd be as bad as it was. Obviously, there was me, Max, James McLean, so the atmosphere was bad, but I think I got a lot of it that day. And I remember my dad sitting in the box and he had to leave the game early because they were having some trouble with some fans. Obviously, I don't know if you remember the song that everyone was singing, but it wasn't it. I think it was Sunderland Boys on a Bender. Mostly my mum, dad, my son was there, granddad, and everyone. They had to go because there was a bit of trouble in the box, because obviously it's not nice to hear. And yeah, it wasn't great, and obviously it was out of my control. I had to leave the club. Don't get me wrong, I went to Wigan and I loved my 3 years there, even with what happened. But it was completely out of my control, and the fans didn't realise that. So for me to get the abuse that I did it was shit, really. Yeah. And then I remember when Sunderland came to Wigan. I wasn't even playing, and I got abused for 95 minutes, and I was sat in the stand, and that song was ringing out for the full game. I remember one of the young lads coming in and said, "Oh, should hear the song they're singing for you out there?" I said, "I know, yeah, at the start of the season, mate." Yeah, well, it's not great, but I think obviously if people listen to this, they'll hopefully understand that it was totally out of my control.
I think the thing is to be
in the end because Roscoe was unbelievable, so no complaint from me.
To be fair, if you look back, right, you might have had that one song about you, but you had 3 Sunderland songs. I don't know if I can repeat one of them because it involved a na 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 at the end, and I can't really talk about the rest of it. But there was that one.
I've got a picture of that on my phone. There's actually some good songs. Yeah,
the C Senor one was my favourite. Like,
yeah, that was a good song. I try and sing it to my son now, but he's having none of it. He doesn't even see me as a football anymore.
Did you ever hear the Children of the Night version that lad made up?
No.
What was it? What was it again, Brad? We fucking love you, Charlie Wyke. We'll fight for the future of the Mackems. We'll come together and unite. Nothing's going to stop us now. No. And it was get up, get up. We're never going to put you down. Get up, come along and join the scene. Charlie Wyke's a goal machine. It was brilliant. Never got sang.
You'll have to try and it'll be gone now. You'll have to try and send me it. I'll
see if we can dig it out because there's always some archives of this lad.
Yeah.
Random songs.
Charlie, cracking catching up with you, mate. I hope it was therapeutic, and I'm really pleased to see you doing so well after obviously what happened a few years back. Really, really pleased to see that everything's going as it is, and you're still playing. But I hope you enjoyed it, mate.
No, thank you, lads. Enjoyed that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Charlie.
Cheers, fellas.